Hey, I hope the sound is okay. Beloved Doug said he was getting some um, muddy sound, and so I've been playing a lot of the blues lately. So maybe muddy is actually an improvement for me. Anyway, good to see you guys. The topic this week is an interesting one. I think it is. I hope you do. But the topic is the variability of consciousness and the fact that it sure seems to me like it's moving. In other words, every day is different. Consciousness, here's one way to say it. For most of us mere mortals, consciousness is never fixed in one place. Consciousness is never fixed in one place. In other words, our moods, our dispositions, our countenance, our very presence and experience varies from day to day. And to some degree, we certainly could thank God that that's the way that we're designed because it keeps us from being stuck in one particular jail or prison of consciousness. And some people are, they're stuck in one place. And I think we would call the condition of being stuck in one degraded place of consciousness, we would call that depression. People being stuck in the deep rut or groove in one place. You never hear people really complain about they're stuck in ecstasy or they're stuck in euphoria or cosmic love. You never hear that going on very much, although I will refer to that in a moment. But consciousness that's stuck in a very low place. And yet, those are the deep grooves in our consciousness. Now, we also know some people, none of us by any means, but some of us, we know people who their consciousness is very flighty. It varies a lot from high to low. Now, of course, there's a technical term for that nowadays. It's called bipolar. But people were bipolar long before they came up with the phrase, right? It wasn't invented by scientists. And so maybe somebody has said you're bipolar. Maybe you're taking medication for it. Keep taking it. Don't. I am not a doctor, but it's some people. Their struggle with consciousness is that it's all over the map. It's going up and down. Now, what's optimal? What's the proper way to be of consciousness? I don't know. But I do know I like what it says. I kind of like what it says in the recovery movement. I kind of like it. It says we get a daily reprieve. Every day we wake up, we get a daily reprieve from the prison cell of consciousness that we know that we've been stuck in before and we don't want to go back. So every day we exercise all the things we know that we can do that keep our consciousness, how shall we say, trending upward, trending upward, not without variables, but I think this is one of the reasons I really love the icon of the upward spiral. It's what's its primary nature? It's going up, but I never feel like I'm always going up. So in my experience, I take my upward spiral and I angle it a little bit because to me that seems like some degree of spiritual imperfection that's added. So the upward spiral is always going up and down at the same time, but it's trending upward. So why don't I like the phrase daily reprieve? Well, I don't have to like the phrase. Where, of course, the wording is quite optional, but I think daily opportunity, daily reprieve makes me feel like I've it makes me feel like the problem is bigger than the solution. It makes me feel like the ism that any of us suffer from is more powerful than the spirit or solution. But I certainly understand the language, and when we're stuck in a rut of depression or alcoholism or addiction or misery or whatever it is that has us in its hideous grip, then every day it does feel like a daily reprieve that we're not there, and all that it points to is gratitude. But what I'm pointing to this week is the fact that consciousness moves, it's not fixed. Yet, if you read the stories of the great yogis, there's something they call nirvikalpa samadhi, and it's when they're fixed in God consciousness. And it's hard to understand, but they speak of it as a necessary stage of consciousness. I might think of it as a rocket ship that, the very first rockets that took off, that took astronauts, they barely got off the Earth. Alan Shepard, first U.S. astronaut, it was like a 30-minute ride. Then John Glenn. Of course, we conveniently don't mention the fact the Russians were the first ones to go into orbit. But it's a perhaps inept metaphor, but sooner or later, the gravity of worldly consciousness, we're freed from it and we go into orbit, meaning we can see so much more and we're not subject to the daily vicissitudes and vagaries of daily consciousness. But in the meantime, we mere mortals, you and me, loony, we're going to pray and meditate, and we're going to throw off the shackles of everything that could weigh us down, at least for a few minutes. Then we're going to go live the day. And we know that if we do this diligently and persistently, the natural and perfect buoyancy of our consciousness will lift us up ever higher, and our daily reprieve will turn into a permanent release. Okay, you guys, have a great day. Looney and I will see you tomorrow.